Countdown. Hello, good morning to you. I'm back. I didn't do a video yesterday because I worked last night and I was off tonight, or technically last night at this point, and I had a funeral to go to yesterday morning. And so there was that. So I made it to the funeral, then made it home. I fell asleep, slept hard, woke up, and of course, I went do what I do when I'm off. That in my evenings when I am off, I go out and just eat out somewhere and kind of just chill for fun, I guess. And here I am. I'm back, ready to do a video. Somebody I wasn't aware of. I was aware of this person. Wasn't aware how toxic this person is. With all the hubbub being made about Dave Chappelle, and for the record, I disagree with Dave Chappelle's words on what would be perceived as transphobic statements in his comedy. My position is that it is his First Amendment right. I don't have to like what he has to say, but there are more toxic people out there saying toxic things than Dave Chappelle. I don't think that Dave Chappelle is trying to harm people. I just wish he wouldn't have said it, but the way I look at it is, he's sort of doing what Andrew Dice Clay did 30 years ago. And as I like Dave Chappelle's work as a general rule, and I like Andrew Dice Clay's work as a general rule in the past. Didn't like everything that they had to say, but I think that they're bigger fish to fry than Andrew Dice Clay 30 years ago, and bigger fish to fry than Dave Chappelle today. And that's basically what I want to talk about, because we have a new Jesse Helms in North Carolina. I know he's African American. I know Mark Robinson is African American, but he's here's the thing. Martin Luther King talked about judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin, which complicates things, because Mark Robinson is pretty much trying to sound like Jesse Helms. And Jesse Helms was one of the biggest bigots that was in the mainstream for many years. And, and not that you have to be a certain skin color to think this certain way. I don't do that sort of thing. As I said, someone like Mark Robinson is a reprehensible human being, not because he's a black conservative. He's a reprehensible human being because his conservative policies are worse than mainstream conservatism. It is vile and bigoted, Whereas Cornel West, I love Cornel West, not because he's African American. It's because Cornel West has awesome policies. We were discussing identity politics with a friend of mine on Facebook the other day. Where I stand on Bernie Sanders. I think he'd make an awesome president. But you know what? It's not because he's Jewish. It's because Bernie Sanders has awesome ideas. Ben Shapiro will make a shitty president. Not because he's Jewish. It's because Ben Shapiro has shitty ideas and shitty policies. It comes down to the content and policies of individuals. And that's basically my point here. Now, to go ahead and kind of refresh people, because I am 52 years old, and there's a lot of people, younger people out there, that probably are not familiar with Jesse Helms. So to kind of brush up who Jesse Helms was, he was a U.S. Senator for North Carolina, served from 1973 until 2003 as the Republican Senator of North Carolina. One of the most right-wing vile people in the last probably half century to serve in a mainstream office. He started off as a Democrat and won a lot of fame in 1950, just shortly after World War II, by working on the Willis Smith campaign to try to do a primary defeat against Frank Porter Graham, who was a U.S. Senator at that time. Frank Porter Graham was kind of known to be a vocal New Deal liberal, and by Southern standards, he was actually very friendly toward the idea of racial equality, and that was unacceptable to people like Jesse Helms. And Jesse Helms was what you would call a Dixiecrat back then, or a Jim Crow Democrat. After the defeat of Frank Porter Graham, he ended up becoming the president of the National North Carolina Bankers Association in the 1950s, Jesse Helms. He got elected to the city council in 1957 in Raleigh as an ardent segregationist. And the difference between Jesse Helms and other segregationists at that time, even though they weren't exactly like 100% lockstep behind New Deal liberalism, they kind of supported some basic aspects of it. Whereas Jesse Helms was a Democrat and a segregationist who actually embraced economic policies to the right of Robert Taft, to the right of Barry Goldwater, to the right of Phyllis Schlafly. So he was actually one of the scummiest politicians around. Like, he was like the ugliest face of corporatism, plus the ugliest side of racism and bigotry. And in the 1960s, Jesse Helms did a commentary, I believe it was called Viewpoint, on Channel 5 WRAL, and he was openly racist, referred to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill as the University of Negroes and Communists. Those were his words. He was very strongly law and order, an anti-communist ideologue, and he suspected Martin Luther King of being a communist, not just a communist sympathizer, but an actual communist. And as a senator, he was extremely opposed to making Martin Luther King as a national holiday. A horrible person. In 1970, he changed his voter registration to Republican, and in 1972, he ran for the U.S. Senate as an open racist, and he defeated Nick Galifianakis, and he was able to get reelected several times until his last election was in 1996 and 2003. He was old, so he did not run for reelection. He, weirdly enough, in the 1970s, he was anti-Israel at a time when there were people on the left that supported Israel, and it comes from basically associating Jewish social democrats, Jewish communists, with the Jewish identity associated with Israel, when socialist Zionism was such a thing, which no longer really exists. But because of the evangelical Christians and their warped reading of Scripture, Jesse Helms became an ardent pro-Zionist because Israel went right-wing at that time. So he opposed Israel for the wrong reasons at one time. He ended up becoming a zealot for Israel for the wrong reasons. And he was an ardent supporter of the Christian right in the 1980s, alongside with people like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson. And in the 1980s, all the way to his death, he was always supporting every racist and bigoted policy imaginable. He was a supporter of the apartheid government in South Africa. He opposed MLK as a national holiday, as I said previously. He opposed any rights whatsoever for the LGBTQ community, and he wanted to quarantine people who were suffering from AIDS. And even in the 1990s, he harassed former U.S. Senator Carol Moseley Braun, the first black woman to become senator in this country, from Illinois. This was years before Obama became a U.S. senator from that state. So there's more about Jesse Helms, and I'm getting to what I need to get to in a moment about Mark Robinson. Um, yeah, thing about it is that was Jesse Helms in a nutshell. He died in 2008, and I don't want anybody to die, not even a scummy person like Jesse Helms, but I wish he would have stayed alive just long enough to see Barack Obama get elected president. That would have made my day, because Jesse Helms was a fucking racist. In 2020, Mark Robinson, and I don't even know who I voted for. I voted for the Democratic candidate last year for lieutenant governor. I don't like bragging about voting for anybody in the two-party system, but I was aware of Mark Robertson running for governor. I did not support him, but I was aware of him. But I just assumed that he was a Ben Carson style Republican. Little did I know that Mark Robertson was going to become more or less a Christianized version of Louis Farrakhan. Now, on Republican policies across the board, Mark Robinson is pretty bad. But I could accept that if he was basically a Ben Carson style Republican or a Tim Scott style Republican for South Carolina. People I would never vote for, but you know what? They're just generically bad on policy, just like virtually the rest of the Republican Party. And to be quite fair, corporate Democrats, which is unfortunately the majority of the Democratic Party. I think that Democrats and Republicans are pretty bad across the board in a lot of ways. But Mark Robertson is an extreme culture warrior. He politicized climate change, and he's a denialist. He is, as I said, a Christianized version of Louis Farrakhan. Basically, the God, gays, and guns. Prayer in school, that sort of thing. And he is a strong warrior on the war on drugs instead of having a more enlightened view, which is to either decriminalize or fully legalize marijuana, for which he opposes. So he's not even a libertarian. He's worse. He's worse than the guy that ran for governor in California. Gosh, I can't think of his name right now. Good Lord, what's his name? Larry Elder. He's worse. He's 10 times worse than Larry Elder's. And that's pretty damn bad. But this is where it gets really interesting. He's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist, basically referring to the movie Black Panther that came out in 2018. He said it was created by an atheistic Jew promoting Marxism and Satanism. And he's talking about how this movie exploited blacks out of their shekels, and shekels is the Yiddish word for money, and it's used in an anti-Semitic sort of way to exploit the Schwartzy, which means Schwartzy is also a Yiddish word to mean black, or blacks, or referring to African Americans. So this is extremely anti-Semitic stuff right here, And then they're going to get mad. The Republicans going to get mad at Ilhan Omar for saying that talking about the Benjamins, referring to the special interests of groups like AIPAC. Which, there's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. It is a fucking interest group. It really is a fucking interest group. Just like any other interest group. Interest groups are not necessarily bad nor good. Or sometimes they're toxic. Sometimes they're kind of corruptive. Sometimes it could be a positive thing, depending on the special interest group. But a special interest group is a special interest group. And AIPAC is a special interest group, and in a large ways, very negative. And don't dare call me an anti-Semite for saying that, because I will figuratively shoot you down, figuratively speaking, not literally. Okay. On Facebook, he actually spends his time insulting the members of the transgender community. He accused Barack Obama of being a secret Kenyan Muslim, and he criticized African Americans for supporting Democrats. Now, I criticize anybody in this country, myself included, for supporting anybody within the two-party system. So, when I hear, I don't look at whether they're black or white, somebody who's criticizing the black communities for supporting Democrats. To those Republicans, I wouldn't exactly go around bragging about being a Republican. It's not like being a Republican is awesome. Yeah, we can agree Democratic Party's garbage, but so are the Republicans. And he accused Michelle Obama of being secretly a male. That conspiracy theories, and he claims that COVID was created to destroy the presidency of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, that's not true. Donald Trump destroyed his own presidency with his ass backwards response or inadequate response. And Mark Robertson expressed no empathy whatsoever for the Pulse Night Club shooting, which resulted in the deaths of 49 gay men at that club. And he said that he refuses to celebrate gay pride. Motherfucker, nobody's asking you to celebrate gay pride. 49 human beings died. And, and you may not like the people that shot that were killed in that club, but the fact that you had no empathy, makes you an evil man. I'm not saying you have to sit there and wave a rainbow flag, but to have no empathy for the people that died. That's why, Mark Robertson, that's why I'm a better person than you. Because when evil SOBs die on a personal level, I will still feel sorry for the fact that a terrible person died. Rush Limbaugh was a son of a bitch. But you know what? I'm sorry on a personal level that he died. He was still a shitty person. Anybody. Donald Rumsfeld, war criminal. I'm sorry on a human level that he died, but he was a piece of shit of a human being when he was alive. And he's worse than Rush Limbaugh because he actually killed people with his policies. And let's not forget this lovely thing that the right wing loves to do, and that is to demonize socialism. Everything I don't like is socialism. That would be him in a nutshell. For damn sure. So let's see here. Okay. I am going to go show video, and I will be commenting very, very shortly thereafter. Hold tight today. I got to show this because this is from Right Wing Watch. And I love watching this site because it exposes to everyone how toxic the right wing are. So how they can be. So give me a moment here. All right, hold on a second here, and I will comment very shortly. This is Mark Robertson.
Here's something else I'm not supposed to say. Ain't but two genders. Two genders. Ain't nothing but men and women. And I can already see WRL out there. They got they licking their pencils around, trying to write fierce as they can. Get every word of this here. Get every word of this. You can go to the doctor and get cut up. You can go down to the dress shop and get made up. You can go down there and get drugged up. But at the end of the day, you were just a drugged up, dressed up, made up, cut up, man or woman. You ain't changed what God put in you, that DNA. You can't transcend God's creation. I don't care how hard you try. The transgender movement in this country, if there's a movement in this country that is demonic, and that is full of the spirit of Antichrist, it is the transgender movement. And this same people gonna tell me, you need to believe in global warming. And then they tell me, follow the science. Follow the science. You don't even know what gender you are. What do you know about science? We don't even need science to prove what gender you are. It's two ways I can do this thing here. It's a simple way. We can go around the corner right here to the bathroom. Drop your pants or whatever you got on, and I can show you what you are. Or I can take a little blood out your arm and take it down here to the scientist. He can put it in his little petri dish and look at it. Oh, this is the DNA of a white male. Yes. Well, is there anything in between? No, it's the DNA of a white male. Don't matter what you did down there at the therapy doctor and all that. Now, let me tell you something. That being said, now, you got the right to do whatever you want to do. We don't live in a theocracy. You got the right to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. If you want to call yourself a cocker spaniel, go ahead. You want to go down here to the dressmaker and say, make me a cocker spaniel suit that I can fit in. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to run around and bark all the time. Go ahead. You can run around here and be a cocker spaniel all day long, but I ain't got to follow you in your delusion. When I see you, I ain't gonna say, there go that cocker spaniel. I'm gonna say, there go that weirdo in that dog suit.
You're not
that
funny.
man thinks he's a dog, but he's not really a dog. He's a man. It's time for grown-ups and time for Christians to start standing up and being unafraid to tell the truth. Come after me if you want to. I don't care. You want my head? Here it is right here. Come on, come get it. I don't care because it's time for us to stand up. Now, I'm not afraid to stand up and tell the truth about that issue. They're dragging our kids down into the pit of hell, trying to teach them that mess in our schools. Tell you like this, that ain't got no place at no school. 2 + 2 don't equal transgender. It equals 4. You need to get back to teaching them how to read instead of teaching them how to go to hell. Yeah, I said it and I mean it.
Okay, that's enough of that. This guy's got to go. He's got to be defeated. I mean, he's a jackass. I mean, he is entitled to his views. He wants to. If he wants to hate, it's his loss as a human being to hate. But if that's what he wants to do, that is his right to do it. I just don't have to agree with that, and I don't. And as I said, I'm just it's just this is the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. I mean, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's bad enough that Marjorie Taylor Greene's a member of the U.S. Congress, and she should be removed instantly for her role in the insurrection earlier this year. Having that said, this is a horrible human being. And, he's basically the new Jesse Helms. And I hope that the good people of North Carolina will have him removed at the election, at the ballot box, as soon as possible. And if he's not removed, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? So, anyhow, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are the muckrakers of our time. Also hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. Go ahead and do that. And until next time, I am American social democracy, peace, and class struggle. And let's fight against this kind of bigotry that exists. And I'm going to wish Hartretard. I'm sometimes some of these names are kind of hard to pronounce, and I apologize. Hartretard Chicks. Sorry if I can't pronounce that name correctly. Good morning to you. I hope everything is going well today. Let me start here with a little bit of outro music. and I'm hoping that I won't have a little thing like a funeral that's going to stop me from, delay me from making a video whenever I can. So, but I had to go this morning. It's a nice lady that died, and very fine lady, church organist, just good person. Distantly related to a former friend of mine. I found out. This person wasn't at the funeral, but this person used to be a progressive, but he ended up turning into an alt-right asshole later on, and a well-known one at that. I won't mention his name, but I would just say this person's very, very involved with anti-immigration politics right now on a national level. I'll give you an additional hint. About a decade ago, at a Tea Party rally in Greenville, South Carolina, he basically insinuated that Senator Lindsey Graham was a closeted homosexual. So he looked that up. You'll know who I'm talking about. Yeah. At one time, he was a progressive, but he became an alt-right asshole. Now, the church organist that he was related to was not an alt-right person. I mean, she was a decent lady, a middle of the road Democrat. As I said, a really decent person. And sorry for this person going, but anyway, I'm ranting. I'm just going to groove to the music. Good night.